Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my new video where we are going to be going over my top 5 tips I think every single Lulu player needs to know. Now, I'm going to be running really quickly through this intro because I have a lot to say and I do not like my videos to run too long. So my goal behind this video is to make you a better League of Legends player as well as to give you a better understanding of Lulu as a whole. I'm going to put timestamps at every single point of the video. They're going to be both up top as well as the bar down below is going to be segmented into different sections. If you want to contact me directly with any questions, I'm going to put a link to my Discord down below in the pinned comments where you can send me a OPGG request or you can just ask me any questions there. I'd be more than happy to help you guys out. I do not like these videos running too long, so I'm only doing 5 tips. If you have your own tips down below, I heavily encourage you guys to share and maybe you'll help out a lower elo player. And finally, with all that out of the way, I'd like to thank my sponsor, turbosmurfs.gg. Make sure to check them out. I am currently playing on one of their Smurf accounts, and it is a lot of fun trying out new builds and trying to find some OP stuff that you guys can try in low elo. And with all that out of the way, let's get right into the video.
No luck in your promo games? Not even one pentakill? Did your teammate rage quit? Feed the enemy team? Just jump over to turbosmurfs.gg and do like the pros, buy a fresh level 30 account. We offer high quality accounts and service that reflects in our 5 out of 5 star rating on Trustpilot. Not only that, but we also offer lifetime warranty on all our accounts and a daily loot box where you can win a free account. Link in the description.
Alright, and getting into tip number 1, we're going to talk about build diversity and rune diversity. It really comes down to what your team comp is and what your enemy team comp is and how you can adjust for those different game states. The first thing that you should be looking at, because you're going to have to select it in the champion select, is your runes. Now, summoner area is going to be a lot more of an aggressive and more well-balanced rune set, but you can also go the guardian rune set that gives you a little bit more tankiness and it gives you a little bit more of a shield and haste effect when it is procced. So, the reason why I generally take area every single time is because I'm playing in an elo where people really do not respect the support as a damage threat, and you're able to proc the summoner area quite effectively in lane, and it essentially allows you to bully with the extra bit of damage coming out of your passive auto attacks and the coming out of your area, and your strong base damages early in the game with EQ and even Ignite can turn Lulu into a little bit of a early game lane bully. That's why I personally like this setup. And then the resolve runes obviously come down to what situation you're in. Obviously you wouldn't want to take bone plating into something like Ashe, but it would be it would be very good into something like a Leona Draven lane. Now, if you wanted to take something like Second Wind in that place, you'd be wanting to take it into something like a Xerath and maybe a Ezreal poke lane. So really adjust your runes to what is needed. Now, next up, we're going to talk a little bit about the items and how you should look to effectively utilize them when playing Lulu. Now, without a doubt, in my opinion, I think Shurelya's is one of the best mythic items that you can have on Lulu. There has been so many nerfs to both of the poor Imperial Mandate and the Moonstone Renewer. These are still effective mythic items, but I think that Shurelya's is just extremely strong, particularly if you have team comps that work well with it. Now, if you did not know, team comps that work really well with battle songs are teams that run down the enemy champions. You want to look for champions like Olaf, you want to look for champions like Jinx, you want to look for champions like Master Yi and Kled and Aurelia that really are just trying to get in the enemy's face and chase them down. So this is a very powerful tool for both engage and disengage, because you are able to use it defensively and run away as well. Now, the other items that you're going to be picking up is going to be very dependent on the enemy team comp. If you have a lot of healing on the enemy, which is very prevalent in the current meta, there's quite a bit of people using sustained chem tech. Purifier is very strong, and then if you're an AP heavy team, you want to be going Staff of Flowing Water. And if you have a very attack speed and damage type of build with a ADC traditional like Jinx, and then maybe a Corki in the mid lane, maybe at the top lane you have something like an Aurelia, Ardent Sensor is going to be great. Now, one thing that Lulu lacks is the she does not have the ability to do a AoE type of shield that is going to proc the Ardent on several targets. This is where Redemption can be quite effective. So being able to proc the Redemption on several targets, giving them all of the buffs from your other epic items can be a very effective way to play it out. Now, traditionally, when you are playing support, games are usually decided by 1 or 2 items, and the biggest 1 item power spike, in my opinion, is the Shurelya's battle songs. Again, after the mythics have already been nerfed, being the Moonstone and the Imperial Mandate. So keep this in mind. You really want to adjust both your runes and items for the current game state, and that will wrap up tip number 1. All right, and getting into tip number 2, we are going to be talking about help picks and how you can get very easy glitter lances on targets from unexpected angles. People do not track your help picks in anything that is below diamond. There is very, very few games where people are going to be tracking it and being very cautious of it. So if you did not know, your picks throws out a glitter lance from the target that has the help picks attached. This could be an allied champion will throw out a glitter lance. A enemy champion will throw out a glitter lance, as well as minions and monsters. So having a good understanding of this is going to just be a great way to have a good amount of skill expression when playing Lulu, a traditionally very easy champion that a lot of people know that they do not have too much micro. Another great way that you can be looking to utilize it in team fights is by putting your shield on one of your frontliners, and if you need to disengage, using your glitter lance to just be able to start running away after you hit that really nice big slow of 80% from your glitter lance, or by putting your E on a diver like Aurelia that's going to dash in, and then giving her a glitter lance slow on the enemy target, ensuring that her skill shots hit. So you really need to pay attention to the just huge skill ceiling that is provided from hitting people with your help picks from targets that are really unexpected to proc your glitter lances. This is going to be a great way to get very easy kills by throwing a help pick, say he's a minion right there, and then walking away. The enemy ADC thinks he's safe from your poke and just throwing out a glitter lance, using your W to chase them down as they're slowed by your glitter lance, and then using your great early game damage using your E and Q can just be a very, very effective way to play out Lulu in the laning phase. And that will wrap up tip number 2. All right, and getting into tip number 3, in my opinion, Lulu is one of the best setups for ganks and when played appropriately because of a unique ability to have a very, very long duration of slows on the enemy champions. The best way to really augment the allied jungler coming in is, first of all, if you really want to go all in, balls to the wall, no matter what happens, all you need to do is get CC down on the enemy and you will pull out kills. You can do a flash R that's going to knock them away from you, and then the area of effect around you is slowing the target for a total of 7 seconds. So you're going to be able to proc this slow at level 6 for a 30% slow as long as they're staying within this ultimate. And then you can also make them even slower with Whimsy. If you did not know, Polymorph silences, disarms, and slows them by 60. So if they had 439 movement speed, you would take off 60. And then after the W Whimsy slow is applied, you can finish them off with the Glitter Lance 2 seconds. So effectively, they're going to be slowed for 7 seconds plus 2.2, and then plus another 2 seconds. This is just an insane amount of time that the enemy is going to be slowed, and you can even start off with the Glitter Lance before you use the ultimate slow to chain even another 2 seconds onto the enemy target and really make sure that there is no escape. So there is no excuse if you have an allied jungler right here and an enemy champion right here for him to get away. Even if he looks to flash, if you preemptively put a help picks on him and then flash R, you can always hit them with the Glitter Lance no matter which direction they go. So always look for this kind of setup in ganks, and you will really surprise the enemy because very few people play Lulu out in these kind of situations in this way. Usually there are people that are very passive when they play Lulu, but an aggressive Lulu is one of the most disgusting things to set up the allied ganks. And that will wrap up tip number 3. All right, and getting into tip number 4, we are going to talk about how to approach team fights with Lulu. So before anything happens, before any team fight goes on, you should always have a good understanding of who is the strongest and who is the weakest. Who would a wild growth be a waste on, and who would the wild growth be very, very strong on? Now, there are a couple different options when using a wild growth. You can use it to CC a large amount of enemies and giving the frontliners a slow, or you can use it as a preventative measure towards your ally ADC that might be getting pressured by an assassin. These are some very, very good tools that do not require a lot of micro. They just really require extremely good shot calling in game situation, game knowledge. So this is why I can do well on Lulu. I'm not the best mechanical player, but I have pretty decent decision making when it comes to the games, and I think that this is going to really come down to where the gold is distributed on the different teams. If there is no assassins on the enemy team, you might want to look to putting a wild growth on the enemy diver divers, because most likely the team fight will be decided before the backline is in any threat, because you go fight front to back in those kinds of situations. Now, next up, Whimsy is it is the most crucial thing. It is the most powerful spell coming out of Lulu. That's why the most recent buff, giving it a shorter cooldown and more attack speed coming out of it, is so big. So how you want to be looking at it: if there is an enemy diver that is strong and is consistently killing your backline, you really need to be polymorphing that enemy champion when doing it. Now, if you guys are hard rolling enemy team fights and you just are cleaning them up, you bait Baron and bait them into a bad team fight, this is when you can look to augment people with the extra movement speed and attack speed. So when your team is under threat, use Whimsy as a polymorph on the enemy champions. If your team is not under threat and you are generally winning the team fights, you want to help your allies chase them down with that W. And if you did not know, when you place a W on an allied champion, it also applies the area effect, which is also a very nice little shield that comes out of this rune that is very unique to this setup and is not a part of the Guardian setup when you are playing Lulu. Now, with the help picks and putting the shields on allies, particularly in games and team fights where there are a lot of champions that are just right on top of each other, and it's hard to maybe put an E on a particular target that you want the E on. There are going to be icons in a ranked game where you can just hover over it and you can click on them on their portrait, and then you can place the E on them without having to be worried about misclicking it and putting a help picks on the enemy champion looking to do damage as opposed to a shield. So having these tools in your toolkit is going to be very important. The final ability that I want to talk about in team fights is Glitter Lance. Now again, you want to be looking to position your help picks on a champion that is going to augment their dive, as well as the Glitter Lance coming out of you. You want to be using it as a peel. So simultaneously, you can be applying an offensive slow for your divers as well as a defensive peel for your backline on the enemy divers. So always look to be using this Glitter Lance in a dual purpose. You do not want to be using your Glitter Lance just in one way where you're throwing two Glitter Lances to peel off a target. You are really ruining its overall effectiveness that you can get out of that ability. You want to use it to its full potential, and that's how you will apply it. And then obviously with the Pix Fairy Companion giving you a little bit of extra damage, if the Pix is with you, you can look to auto. I don't really recommend it too much. You don't want to be putting yourself in bad situations when playing Lulu just to get like a 70 or 80 damage auto attack when playing Lulu. And that will wrap up my tips for team fighting on her. All right, and getting into the final tip, as League of Legends has started becoming more of a roam meta for the supports, Lulu has a pretty decent roam that you can look to do. Say you have the enemy pushed into their tower and your ADC is backing. This is a great time to start getting some wards in really nice spots that are going to show the jungler patterns, as well as help protect your allies, as well as you can look for these wraparounds on mid lane that can give just a huge effect. You can look to Whimsy in on the target and then get a slow with your E or your Q, and then keeping them inside of your wild growth slow zone is going to be very, very effective. You do not also, if they are pretty deep in the lane and you do not have to Whimsy in to cut them off before they can retreat to their tower, getting in and Whimsying them, polymorphing them, and then knocking them up and then slowing them is going to provide a huge amount of CC, allowing and setting up your mid laner for a very good kill. Lulu also has very strong damage in the early game for a support champion, so you're able to provide a lot of damage and you can really turn those mid lanes around when you are playing Lulu. Now, a lot of those games come down to just thinking, oh god, I hope this ADC is good or else this Lulu pick is just shit. That is so untrue. When you're playing Lulu, you can really help out your mid laner. You just need to look for the right timings when there's nothing you can be doing bot lane. And if you are, especially if you're running Mobies early, you can always just, whenever you come back from your base, always just look for a quick little roam to the mid lane. Don't walk straight bottom, and see if you can get anything in the mid lane and get some slows and get a gank off there, as well as augment your jungler in skirmishes is just going to be great, because Lulu essentially is a force multiplier, giving shields and extra bonus health and attack speed and slows. So this is how you should be looking to play out Lulu. If you have any questions for me, again, just hit me up in the linked comment down below. It's going to be a link to my Discord. And as always, guys, take it easy.